Hi, y'all. Just coming to you live. Just starting my channel. Um, Shout out to Brian. I know it's been a while, and I've been promising to do this, but yeah, we're getting started, and I've already made a video, and we'll be filming more. So I want to start out on topics related to the martial arts. Um, I've studied martial arts now for almost 50 years. Um, I came from a very intense fighting club, and at a time when to be a black belt, you didn't have rank inflation. So you had to perform, you had to fight, and I think it took me about 8 years to get my black belt. Um, and that was considered to be about average. My Nidan took another 4 years. He just did not get rank easily. Since that time, I've studied many forms of Japanese Jiu-Jitsu. I was in the Bujinkan for a while and Southeast Asian arts as well. And my intention is to share my experience with the community because I think when I look out there, we need some help, guys. I'm just gonna say it. There's a lot of beautiful stuff out there, but when it comes to survival and using the martial arts for that purpose, somebody has to step in here and be the voice of reason. And while I'm not the only one to do that, I'm going to help hold that mantle up. With that said, I want to discuss for my first real topic the idea of technique and how people use technique as a means to degrade and really to try to be chauvinistic about their own particular styles, which is a very dangerous thing to do. There is no such thing as bad or good technique. Now, hear me out. I know that's a lot. That's a mouthful, okay? Here's the thing. Every technique that you see that was in some way legitimately derived was part of some system of movements, some understanding within a context. And to take that technique and just isolate it, you will never really understand any aspect of that technique beyond a very basic level of understanding. I've seen instructors on YouTube parroting women, okay? Now, one of the greatest things one can do is get women understanding and trained to not be repulsed by violence. It's one of the first and most important things in training because women are socialized differently than men. And about the last thing a woman needs when they develop some confidence and understanding is for some idiot to come along and degrade their progress. There is no technique, okay, good or bad, that in and of itself will make a woman successful in fighting or a man successful in fighting. It just doesn't work that way. There is no good or bad technique. Technique, to understand any such technique of any sort, you have to understand the context in which it was developed, and you have to understand how it was really supposed to be done. Without that understanding, you don't understand the technique. And I see this constantly. I see teachers saying, you can't choke a guy this way, man. You choke a guy this way, he'll do this, he'll do that. It doesn't work that way, okay? If you want to develop good technique, then you have to first develop good muscle memory. You have to develop good movement skills. And you have to be able to pressure test those skills in some fashion. And it has to be as close to the scenario that you're training for. In this way, sometimes even sparring, if it's light, doesn't really do somebody a lot of good. You have to have some intensity and focus with your training. Then you'll understand how techniques form a building block and are important. And I'm going to conclude this video with a story to illustrate that point. Much love to Sensei Willie Ben, who was my first karate sensei, and who I trained with many, many, many years with. Well, to enter his class, he had a unique greeting system where when you walked in, for the first 3 or 4 times, he beat you up. Now, these are different times, folks. I'm almost 60 years old, okay? And, you know, it was Baltimore, and it was an area where social Darwinism at its best. I mean, you had to be able to fight if you did martial arts. You were going to get called out. Well, here's the moral of the story, though. If you stuck with it, you just were trying to make something work, and you just got beaten back. And then on the 4th day, I came in there. He showed me one technique. He showed me a front kick. I'll never forget this. And he put me out there again. And I'm not a fighter by nature, okay? I'm more of a teacher who learned how to fight and fight well. But boy, when he gave me that kick, I felt like I had something to use. And in that respect, that kick developed. It helped me. It was an effective technique. Why? Because it was a front kick? Because of the way he taught it to me? Partially, for sure. But because of the context. Because when you're in a sort of a fighting situation, a kick gives you a little bit more distance than a punch. You can have more time to react, or whatever the case may be. And I needed that kick. I needed something to protect myself. And he, in his infinite wisdom, understood that. And he made me wait for that. But when I got that kick, it really meant something. And you will find that when you start to use techniques to build your approach, you will have to often modify them for your purposes. And the way that you understand that technique, how it was applied, if it's an older art like a Koryu, Japanese art, and the way that it works for you are all integral parts of that. There is no such thing as a good or bad technique. Thank you, folks.